Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with energetic soul coach and healer. She helps women defeat insecurity, overwhelm, and self-sabotage, while all the while embracing their authentic self with signature methods that she uses. As an energetic soul coach and healer, she helps women find their strength and get rid of their limitations to live their best and most fulfilled life. Enjoy this interview.
Good. Hey, thank you for taking a minute out to the show. I appreciate it.
Definitely. It's my pleasure.
So before we get into your work, I want to address COVID. In the last 3 years, it's interacted with all of us in very different ways. So I'm curious how you survived that time period and how it changed the way that you live your life and conduct business now that the world's waking up and we're kind of reemerging.
Yeah, COVID was actually a catalyst to start my business. So it actually worked out really great for me in that way. So I own a day spa, and then I also offer holistic coaching, energy healing, and wellness. And I got laid off because of COVID, and then because of that, I was like, you know what, I'm going to take the plunge and start my business. People need empowerment and love more than ever. So with the day spa, I started out mobile and home-based, going to their homes, and then also with the energy work, just being able to support them both distance and in person, with, all of the anxiety and emotions and everything that they were going through, and was just really able to grow my business in that way, hitting that need, and now we're here. So in a way, it was a blessing in disguise, as difficult as it was to navigate.
Well, it almost seems like this is the most ideal time to have a business model like that, because people more than ever need that help and healing in their lives.
Exactly. Definitely.
So
it definitely helped. It just helped open up, people to recognize, things weren't working anymore. The way that they were functioning wasn't working anymore, and just having someone to support them through that and through those changes.
Well, let's get to a better kind of boil down a little bit exactly what you do on a daily basis. And I want to hypothetically put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids at a career day. And one of them, let's say a third grader, looks up at you and asks, what do you do for a living? How would you answer that child?
A third grader asked me, what do I do for a living? I would say that I help people learn how to be happy and to thrive in this world, learn how to have love for themselves and love for everyone. And I do that through a type of healing called energy healing, working with the energy of the body, and also through owning a day spa and giving them self-love and empowerment through different beauty treatment services.
So when you were that age in third grade school, what was your dream? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a dancer.
Excellent. So were you a dancer? I mean, was that something you did for a while?
I did, yeah. I did do dancing, but I think the biggest thing was, I kind of just always wanted to be in front of people. I wanted, I felt I just had something to share. And so as a child, that manifested in the easiest form of expressing myself through dance. And then once I, grew up and got to be older, started realizing more and more of what that was and what it was that I wanted to share with the world and how I wanted to help the world. And then just kind of morphed into what it is today.
So speaking of morphing into today, let's go back to your childhood. Talk to me a little bit about where you were born and raised, and what were some of the specific seeds that were put into you to do the holistic and energy work and to do what you do today? How did all of that happen?
Yeah, so I grew up actually in a really strict church. It was a really strict religion, kind of like Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witness style sort of thing. And so there was definitely a lot of judgment. There was a lot of rules, a lot of structure. But I myself have always had a spiritual gift ever since I was a kid. I could see spirits and talk to spirits. And so I was always kind of trying to figure out where that fit in with religion, with the way I was raised. We left the church once I was about 13 or 14 years old. And then I just embarked on a path of, figuring out what this was, learning about meditation, learning about energy healing, all of that sort of thing, trying out different religions, different spiritual practices, and just kind of figuring out what was my truth. And I feel the beautiful thing that, that transpired through all of this, it was because I had such an experimental phase. I learned so much. I learned so much about religion and the Bible and other religions and other spiritual practices, is that I can support someone where they're at. I can understand where they're at and, help them to discover what is truth for them. I don't necessarily believe there is one universal truth for everyone other than we should all love each other. And so just being able to have this wide array of knowledge to be able to support others in figuring out what is their truth and what will actually make them happy and what do they, believe in, how to evolve that.
So who's been kind of a role model or a hero for you in your life? Some of this inspired you.
I've not to be, pointing to myself or anything, but I've always just kind of been my own role model in a way. I've just always wanted to be better, and I always wake up every day just wanting to be better and do better than the way I was before. I did end up finding, once I was in my early 20s, I met this lady. Her name was Mary Underhill, and she became my Reiki master, and she taught me a lot about spirituality, and she was just such a kind, loving, caring person. And so she was definitely, an anchor and a strong point at that point in my life for me as well. But other than that, I don't know, I don't really look up to too many celebrities or anything like that. I think, everyone just needs to be on an equal playing field and needs to use what they have with them to support others.
So is there anybody alive on the planet right now that you would love to talk to meet, to spend a little time with?
I think Keanu Reeves actually could be pretty cool. I've heard a lot about him. It could be neat to really pick his brain and see what's back there, and what's, not being showed in the, news articles and stuff like that. He'd be a really cool person. I'd also love to meet Joe Dispenza, and pick his brain as well. He puts out such incredible work. He's a really amazing individual.
So, I lived with 3 generations of very energetically sensitive women. And, they talk about, they see things, they sense things. And I've always just been curious, and it's been like this for years. Is it like anything else? There's certain people that are just born with abilities to, say, dance or to pitch a baseball well or to do certain things. There's just a proclivity that exists within their brains or lineage that allows them to do that. Genes, nature, nurture, whatever it is. So my question is, when you do have that chance to see the spirit world, is that something that you are just born with, do you think, or do you think that you can train your brain to relax in a way? I've always been curious about that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there are people who are born with certain more obvious or blatant gifts that are a bit harder to ignore. But actually, when it comes down to it, science has even proven now that intuition or that like inner sense that you have within yourself is just an energetic form of communication. And we have this in the womb with our mother when we're, obviously in the womb, when we're developing. We already develop this level of energetic communication. So we are all born with this skill. But because of the way society is, the way schools are, and depending upon how we're raised, we forget that skill. We dismiss it. We believe it's not real, rather than nurturing it and learning how to use it. So what I actually do in my work is teaching all of my clients how to connect with their intuition, how to develop that skill. That skill does show up in different ways. Some people, can be more prone to seeing things or maybe feeling things. There's so many empaths in the world, which is another way that it shows up. It's just then largely misdirected. And it's really teaching people what their gifts are, what their skills are, and how to specifically develop their personal skills and how to use that in the real world. And so I think, some people maybe have more of a proclivity towards it or have been in an environment that's nurtured it more than others, but everyone can definitely develop that skill and have that. It just might show up in a different way for them.
Yeah, that's a great answer, great explanation. So every day you get up and look at what you have to do, what you want to do, I should say. What is it that is the ultimate motivator for you? What gets you through the day and makes you accomplish the things that you want to get done?
Yeah, I would say, honestly, like being able to help others and have others come into their confidence, to come into their gifts, to find fulfillment in this daily existence that we have. We've kind of gone into the society that's all about the rat race, and we get so stuck in this, work environment, and everything can just become so mundane and dreary. And I love being able to inspire people to wake up, to be able to step out of that rat race, to be able to recognize their gifts and start, living a life of fulfillment and joy, whatever way that shows up for them. And just being able to use my voice to share that, using my gifts to help them, support them through that, make them feel better in, whatever capacity. And even just, if it's not directly with my clients, just being able to, spread some joy and some love in this world. We live in such a dark time right now. And it's important to be that light, to shine our light. And just being a spark for whoever I meet is definitely a driving factor behind what I do and what gets me up in the morning.
What is it that you've done that you're the proudest of?
I'm quite proud of my own life story, my own life path. Like, it hasn't all been hunky-dory and roses. I've gone through a lot of my own struggles. I've overcome addiction, which was a huge one. I've been a single parent, so I absolutely love my kids and being able to kind of give them perhaps a different, being able to raise them holistically, to be able to be self-aware and to be able to, have that a strong sense of self and confidence and love for themselves and for others, and just being able to share my journey with them and, hopefully help them make smarter choices than I did when I was younger. And just being able to be more secure in themselves is a huge pride point for me, is my kids and what I've overcome.
So speaking of youth, let's say you have a dream tonight, you run into the 20-year-old version of yourself, and you could dispense some advice onto that version based on the wisdom you've gained in your life. What would you tell your younger version?
Definitely to trust herself, to not let herself succumb to peer pressure, to not be afraid to stand up for herself and for her beliefs, and to trust that, voice within herself and to listen to it when it says, this isn't a good situation, it's not a good situation, and to follow that and to recognize her worth as well, rather than, succumbing to relationships that put her down and diminish her, to believe in herself and to say no.
So what has been one of the best client responses, fan letters, so to speak, that you've ever gotten?
I would say one of the best ones was how it just gave them, working with me gave them their life back, how they were able to find joy in their life, renew joy in their relationships, have confidence in themselves, to have communication with their partner, with their, workspace, and just to be able to really blossom and flourish in their life, and how it turned everything around for them.
So, Ella, everyone out there has an idea of who they think you are. We have different pockets and bubbles of people that we interact with, from family to friends to clients to colleagues. But ultimately, you run the show. You live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm just an individual making my way in this big world. Yeah, I think we all are, and we can't. I do believe in myself, and I do have a lot of confidence in myself and in my gifts. But at the end of the day, we're all beautiful individual people, and everyone has a gift, and we need to recognize that within ourselves and within everyone else around us.
So, Ella, if anyone out there wants to hire you, wants to partake in your services, anything related to your world, where's the best place to go? The
best place to go would be on my website. So that's opaldawnholistic.com. I also have a Instagram page, which is at OpalDawn Holistic. And so on my website, you can find the different programs that I offer. I do offer one-off energy healing sessions over distance. So it's a 60-minute energy healing session where we get to tap into you and your divine essence and, shift anything that needs to be shifted, reconnect with your sense of self, clear any blockages that are there within your energy. And also for any of the listeners here, if you send me a message on Instagram or if you send me an email, you can find my contact information on my website, and you use the phrase power, then I will send you a link to 40% off one of the singular energy healing sessions. So I'm definitely looking forward to connecting with some of your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Ella, this has been great. Thank you for opening up your story. It has been wonderful and triumphant. I appreciate you opening up, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was wonderful chatting with you.
Thanks for tuning into another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, mental health, music, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.